Hey, welcome to the Total Bitcoin Podcast Show. I'm the host of the Total Connector Show and the Total Bitcoin Podcast Show. I wanted to go over some recent updates or news regarding the confusing. There were some confusing updates whether the press release by the Iranian news agencies and other media platforms, were actually verified. Um, and so I asked around, Ziya from Iran and other Iranian Bitcoiners or people, who could have verified the sources. So let's just jump into these press clips. Let me just pull that up. All right, there are a couple. There are actually a bunch of them, but let me just. All right, here you go. So this is one of the news clips, and it seems that yes, because it's already this news has also been published, republished, or the media platforms such as where is it? So the first time I think it was on PressTV, or one of the first sources. It's with the head title of PressTV.com, and one of the Bitcoiners or Twitter users reported that PressTV comes as close to to the official sources. So it says here, Iran allows exclusive use of cryptocurrencies to fund imports. The Iranian government has amended its regulations on cryptocurrencies. Just think of Bitcoin when there are words, they even misspelled cryptocurrencies here, to allow them to be exclusively used for funding imports at a time of increased pressure on the country's normal use of hard currencies. And now this is so it should be official, right? I mean, maybe they haven't, like super formally made it into a law. And maybe there are some reasons behind it, because there was an Iranian on Twitter who said he once tried to call the central bank's public relations office or agency and asked whether this law has actually been put in effect or ratified or whatever. And I think they hung up on him and said, oh, how do you know? Or they asked him, how do you know that? And then they hung up on him. So there's weird stuff going on. So anyway, this is what it says. The cabinet amended a previously issued legislation on the use of cryptocurrencies in Iran by redirecting digital monies into the central bank of Iran's funding mechanisms for imports, according to Saturday report by the official IRNA news agency. Now, you must know that there's been going sanctions and embargoes going on for decades, which only at the end of the day, with Iran with 80 million people, this is what I care about, are actually the people who are suffering under these sanctions and embargoes. It's also about not being able to buy really super urgent necessary medical supplies, what have you. So it says in this article, report said new regulations have been enacted in response to a joint proposal by the Central Bank of Iran and the Iranian Ministry of Energy, based on the laws. The cryptocurrencies legal in mind in Iran, think again, just Bitcoin, will only be exchangeable when they are used to finance imports from other countries. The miners are supposed to supply the original cryptocurrency directly and within the authorized limit to the channels introduced by the Central Bank of Iran, unquote, said the report. And then further on, because it's just really a short article, it said the legal cap for the amount of cryptocurrency for each miner would be determined by the level of the subsidized energy used for mining and based on instructions published by the Ministry of the Energy. Iran announced general rules on cryptocurrencies. Just think again, just Bitcoin last year, when illegal mining through the use of heavily subsidized electricity led to a nationwide crackdown on miners. Trading digital currencies like Bitcoin became legal after the regulations were announced in August 2019, although the government has been keeping a cautious eye on the size of the trade and its potential impacts on the financial situation in Iran. Using cryptocurrencies or using Bitcoin to fund imports could help the Central Bank of Iran evade restrictions imposed by the United States on Iran's use of the dollar system. And that's where we actually would need to have to talk about the SWIFT system, which is a totally centralized transfer settlement system. And this is a really, I mean, if this goes through, and this is the question, what kind of effect would that have on on other countries and other states, incentivizing other states, other countries, other governments to compete, not only at a hash rate but also on a hyper-Bitcoinization wave. So the last paragraph, it says here that comes as central banks in countries like China and Russia plan to introduce official cryptocurrencies to boost trade and economic exchanges with the rest of the world. Now, the bunch of other articles that in essence, principally have the same content, but we can just go through them one by one. There's another one from asiatimes.com from October 30th, 2020. Iran turns to Bitcoin to fund imports. Now, it says here, again, it's about sanctions, right? Crippled by sanctions imposed by the US government, Iran has turned to cryptocurrency to fund imports. Just think again, Bitcoin, right? I mean, I don't know, this whole confusion about cryptocurrency. There's only one, there's Bitcoin and there's shitcoin, So anyway, so the Islamic Republic, which, by the way, just a footnote, I don't know why Iran is Islamic anyway, but I think Iran, if the 80 million people of Iran regain their freedom, I think Iran will go to their very own roots, which is many thousands of years old, which is the Zoroastrian and Mitraism philosophy and principles of good principles. So Iran has become the first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin at a state level for value exchange, trust notes reports, citing a story issued by the official IRNA news agency. The Iranian cabinet has changed legislation in order to redirect the crypto into the Central Bank of Iran's funding mechanism for imports. Quote, the miners are supposed to supply the original cryptocurrency directly and within the authorized limit to the channels introduced by the Central Bank of Iran, unquote, said a report of Central Bank of Iran and the Ministry of Energy, which I also had quoted just previously. PressTV, an Iranian state-owned news and documentary network affiliated with the with the IRRB, explained, quote, the legal cap for the amount of cryptocurrency for each miner would be determined by the level of the subsidized energy used for mining and based on instructions published by the Ministry of the Energy, unquote. So if it's on PressTV, again, it's on PressTV. That's what also Arbadu, I think it's his name on Twitter. I think I'm pretty sure he's Iranian, because he tried to fact check all these. And he said himself, so if PressTV, comes as closest to the official sources, sort of. So, and now this is important economic desperation, and just at the tip of the iceberg, with inflation of around 34% since 2018, the value of Iran's rial, that's the Iranian currency, rial, has fallen dramatically. The country's economy has been devastated by punitive US sanctions that prevent it from using dollars for international trade, including the purchase of desperately needed foreign pharmaceuticals, which has forced Tehran to turn to Bitcoin. The leading crypto, Bitcoin, right, is notoriously volatile, but the country's desperate economic situation has left it with few options. And then further on, it says, in response to the news, Australian crypto analyst Alex Sanders said Iran was just the first domino to fall. He tweeted, quote, I predicted the first sovereign to hold Bitcoin would be one with nothing to lose. Iran's central bank will now legally hold all Bitcoin used for imports, exports, allowing them to bypass the US dollar and, with that, the SWIFT system. And now, they can all, trade freely with whatever, China, Russia, especially when the oil is just, passing through and, flowing through also the amongst other countries such as Iran. No one wants to be first, then no one wants to be last. Okay, so there are a bunch of other articles. This is another one for news.bitcoin.com. Iran's new crypto law requires miners to sell Bitcoin directly to central bank to fund imports. All right, so it's in essence, maybe this is could be pretty essential info for you. Iran has issued over 1,000 licenses to crypto miners, including one to the Turkish Bitcoin mining giant iMiner. Power plants in Iran are allowed to mine cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin miners have been granted exclusive access to electricity generated from 3 of them. Meanwhile, over 1,000 illegal Bitcoin miners have been shut down. And maybe this is also pretty interesting. Mostafa Rajabi Mashadi, deputy head of Iran's power generation, distribution, and transmission company Tabanir, and the spokesperson for the power industry, confirmed these cryptocurrencies can be exchanged according to the regulations set by the central bank. Mehr news agency quoted him as saying. Okay, what else do we have here? Oh yeah, this is a good question actually. It says in this article, cryptocurrency analyst Alireza Shamki told ISNA news agency that the new law is vague and ambiguous. For example, it does not state how the central bank will price cryptocurrencies or the exchange rate between dollars and reals. Previously, miners could exchange their cryptocurrencies for dollars, reals, or other currencies at market prices. He added that the requirement for miners to report the output to the central bank is not seen in other industries, concluding that the new law will likely reduce the industry's attractiveness and significantly lower miners' profit margin. Now, before I go any further, let me just say that, again, this is another article from somarknews.com, Iran to buy imported goods with Bitcoin. Where it also says here, according to sources such as Iran Daily and CoinDesk, the central bank of Iran will use these bitcoins for miners in foreign trade deals. Iran, which is subject to sanctions, heavy sanctions actually, by countries such as the United States, is expected to use crypto money for imports. It is not known whether Iran will pay for imported goods directly with Bitcoin, or, this is a good question, or whether it will use Bitcoin to fund the payment instrument. Kadir Has University lecturer Ismail Haki Pollard spoke to the Coin Bulletin and commented on Iran's move as a step taken before seeing Bitcoin as a reserve asset like gold. I mean, this is like music in my ears. Yeah, and I don't want to, even quote this other idiotic so-called economy journalist, whatever. Yeah, what a bullshit. It's talked about quantum computer again, and the United States can close Bitcoin and Bitcoin. I mean, all this, so much bullshit. Anyway, these folks don't know anything about what they're talking about. So what I'm planning to do is to do with Ziya Sadr from Iran, and another prominent Bitcoiner, who also been quoted a couple of times by Antonios Antonopoulos and Alex Gladstein, and maybe with one or two other insiders or Iranian Bitcoiners, insiders who maybe have some more insight or insider information or background information on the legislative process, on the national bank or central bank of Iran, if you will, on what's going on the mining, on the hash rate competition that could be triggered or incentivized through that. Check out, by the way, Ziya has just started an educational YouTube channel. Unfortunately, I'm unable to read. I hardly speak any Farsi, the Iranian language, or I cannot read or write Farsi at all. So, but there's always Google Translation. But for all of those out there who are Iranians, who know Iranians who would need educational support, setting up whatever the wallet, Samourai Wallet, privacy. Bitcoin wallets, connecting your wallets to a node. So this is a great source. You know, get on his channel. You find him under Ziya Sadr, and subscribe please to his channel. It's very weird things going on because I just subscribed actually yesterday to his channel, and they should, you know, YouTube just took it off. And actually Ziya told me the same. They just, you know, take away his subscribers. So, you know, there's not only a lot of shadow banning, censorship going on Twitter, but obviously on YouTube. And it's, you know, this is nothing political. It's just an educational platform. You know, he's doing, you know, a great service to humanity and to the Iranian people, 80 million people in Iran. So this is the question: is this new law, this new regulation that's upcoming and put into practice, then, where Iranian miners selling Bitcoin directly or whatever to national or central bank of Iran, will this lead eventually to Bitcoinization, hyperbitcoinization in Iran? And, you know, and we need more people like Ziya Sadr who, you know, start educating their fellow, you know, Iranian brothers and sisters. And finally, you know, regain our freedom, going back to the roots of Zoroastrianism and Mithraism, to true capitalism, to true free market principles, to true, you know, liberty, and, you know, live the, you know, and I think the Iranian people have deserved, you know, a life in prosperity, in abundance, in real technological innovation. And there's so much technological brilliant minds in Iran with a, you know, it's nuclear, subnuclear energy, medicine, nanotechnology. It just, you know, it just needs to be, it just needs the structure, the right, you know, fundamental structure, and that is Bitcoin. The hardest, scarcest, unconfiscatable, immutable Bitcoin protocol. You know, censorship resistant, and, you know, absolute with the absolute scarcity of 21 million. It's uncensorable, without any borders, without any restrictions, without any. So finally, you know, we can have a thriving, blossoming humanity, because this is not about borders. This is not about countries. This is not about patriotism. Fuck patriotism, fuck nationalism, you know, fuck any kind of borders or governments or nation states, and especially central banks. So we don't need all that. All we need is a structure that is based on cryptography, on mathematics, on honesty, on truth, on transparency. And this is what not only Iran is about, but total humanity, total planet of Earth with 8 billion people. This is what we're actually striving for. Humanity, a planet, a society, a human civilization rooted in Bitcoin with true free market principles. This is actually also what I intend to do with this film project, Humanity Rooted in Bitcoin, which I'm working on with other Bitcoiners, with it be Bitcoin commercial, a trailer, a teaser, and a total film production, whether it's a documentary or a mixture of genre between a motion picture, authentic, you know, materials, and a Bitcoin film documentary, where it's about the vision, about what is really possible, you know, beyond all this, you know, super hyped philosophical intellectual discussions. This is not what it's about. This is about what can we do, how can it be used, how can we transform, what kind of structures can we build, right? So there's so much intellectual philosophical discussions going on. I really appreciate all these discussions. It really, you know, helps people you know, go through this intellectual rigor. But most people, and that is 95, 99% of Earth's population, don't have the time, don't have the really the time, the patience. They don't have the nerves. They don't have the attention span. What we need right now is practical applications, practical educational materials, and you know, people coming together, entrepreneurs, investors, engineers, inventors, educators such as myself, right? With my podcast, I'm just doing, you know, my part in this whole thing. So please go on Ziya Sadr, you know, Twitter handle Ziya_Sadr, or on his YouTube channel, Ziya Sadr. Follow him, you know, support him with some sats, because if there's one country, I think that's gonna, you know, or a few countries that are really have the whatever you call it, the fundamental the fundamental necessity the urgency to go into hyper-Bitcoinization that is Iran, that is Venezuela, that is Argentina, that is all these countries in Africa, like where the structures are already set in, but and they already have the technological knowledge, they have the intellectual knowledge, they have the necessity, they have been suffering under heavy sanctions, embargoes, pain points. So most people in the Western countries, such as here in Austria where I live for more than 40 years now, the European countries or Western countries, especially the middle class and the upper middle class, they don't know what suffering is, what economical, social, financial, existential threat is, and pain point is. So once that's gonna come, and that's gonna come by latest of 2021, when the euro is going to crash, when we're going to have a huge wave of insolvencies, where central banks are literally printing, not only printing, but just creating, with the digital or, with the central bank digital currencies, total control, total surveillance. So a lot of shit is going to hit the fan, and they're just going to accelerate this hyper-Bitcoinization process, especially in countries such as Venezuela, Iran, Turkey, Argentina, and what have you. So without further ado, check out, please, my Twitter handle. Please follow me. Please follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my podcast platforms, because it's the heartblood of my work. It really helps, not only share this video, share my material, share the interviews I do with all these, beautiful, brilliant minds on my podcast platforms, on YouTube. Give me a follow on Twitter, please. And let's just work together. Instead of, this is not about competition, this is not about Darwinism, this is about now cooperation, a totally new paradigm shift. This is about cooperation. The competition is going to take place in all those centralized entities and structures, governments, nation states, central banks. So if the whatever you want to call it, I'm not even sure whether to call it central bank, because Iran is one of the few bastions that still is not connected with the central bank oligarchy of the world. So whatever we call it, but it's the pain points, it's the suffering, it's so the competition is going to accelerate, I think, in all those neighboring countries, in Middle Eastern, in Asian countries, in Russia, in China. So once they start accumulating and adopting Bitcoin as a reserve asset, as a national reserve asset, and start trading imports, exports, and then eventually, and this is my biggest wish and desire, that the people of Iran, 80 million people, by the way, 70 to 80% of Iran's population is at a very young age. I think approximately between 30 and 35 years old. So if these young people start just adopting, start implementing these technological applications, with it be, I think of Randy Brito of Locha Mesh, or Richard Myers of Global Mesh Networks, Global Mesh Labs. So if they start adopting and implementing all these technologies with satellite, radio, local mesh network, radio signals, we won't even need internet, or and the power grid. You can just do transactions eventually without any power grid, without any internet connection, just by with satellite. Maybe even Blockstream can help with their satellite kits. And if there's more cooperation between these technological innovations and products which are being developed and are being actually produced by Locha Mesh, by and experimented with Richard Myers from Global Mesh Lab, then eventually we're going more and more into this real reality of freedom, right? Of censorship, of true censorship resistance. And finally, we're going to achieve hyper-Bitcoinization, and and this is where we're going. So with the hardest and scarcest money, we can achieve, technological innovation 0 to 1 that is beyond our imagination, right? And I'm not talking about, information technology, robotics, AI, these wholly regurgitated, oftenly repeated technologies such as, information technology, computer technologies, and mobile technology. I'm talking about like structural technologies. I'm talking about energy efficiency, energy conversion technologies, transportation technologies, vertical takeoff, such as, volocopter and lithium and all these, or whatever, Elon Musk with his new, projects that are still, in development, battery technologies, nanotechnologies. Yes, definitely robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all this. This is actually the purpose of all these technologies, is to help humanity, is to serve humanity, but on a decentralized level, in a decentralized dimension. So this is the fight we are heading into, a peaceful fight, a peaceful war we're striving into. All we need is to build the new structures, new technological applications. We don't need to fight, to waste our energy fighting old structures, old establishments, old systems. No, all we need to do is to adopt Bitcoin and build around all these beautiful infrastructures, whatever that is, wallets, nodes, Bitcoin nodes, help your brothers and sisters, your neighbors, your colleagues, your families, educate them, just give them what they need, right? What they can use, what they really have a necessity for. And that starts in Iran, with all the sanctions going on, with all the pain points and the suffering. I think it's the prime candidate. Iran is the prime candidate for hyperbitcoinization. So let's just help them, and let's go back to the roots, to the real ethical principles of do good, think good, and act well, and to the Zoroastrian good principles. And let's just leave all these religions behind us, whatever that is, whether it's Islam or whatever, or Catholicism, or any kind of institutionalized and really segregating and dividing religions, and whether it be politics obsolete, religion is obsolete, and all these centralized things obsolete, institutionalized bullshit is obsolete. So what we need to do is just to create the soil, and the soil is Bitcoin. And on Bitcoin, we can build everything, because Bitcoin is in itself inherently the free market. So help me out, share this video, share the interviews, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and write me a positive review on any podcast platform, if you like, on iTunes or any other prominent podcast platform. Thank you so much for your support and for listening again. And make sure you tune in next week, starting with Ziya Sadr and many other Bitcoiners, Iranian Bitcoiners, where we're going to start discussing how we can implement and discuss the ramifications, the implications, what does it mean, what's the chain reaction that's going to be triggered through this through this new law or regulation, whatever you want to call it, where Iranian miners start selling their Bitcoin directly to whatever the government or central bank of Iran, and start funding their imports, and by that circumventing the really inhuman sanctions and embargoes that have been going on for so many decades now. I think even 3 or 4 decades. Anyway, so these are the articles I just showed you. You can check them out on SOMARC, on asiatimes.com, PressTV.com, and give me a follow on Twitter, Keyvan Davani. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you next week. Tune in. And if you have any questions or special wishes for any special guest, please let me know. My email address is hello@thetotalconnector.com, or shoot me a DM on Twitter, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Telegram. It's Keyvan Davani. I'm the host of Total Bitcoin Podcast Show and the Total Connector Show. Thank you so much again. I'll see you soon next